The morning commute through the transit tubes always gave Dr. Amara Okonkwo a moment to think. 30 meters below the Martian surface, the maglev pod hummed through the pressurized tunnel at 400 kilometers per hour, connecting the residential districts of New Thessalonika's south sector to the medical complex in the city center. Through the reinforced windows, she watched the underground infrastructure flash by kilometers of fiber optic cables, water reclamation pipes, and the massive thermal regulators that kept the subterranean city at a comfortable 21 degrees Celsius. Above ground, it was -63 and dropping as autumn settled over the Meridiani Plain. Her wrist display pulsed with the morning briefing, atmospheric pressure holding steady at 920 pascals in the dome districts, the fusion reactor running at 94% efficiency, and water extraction from the polar pipeline operating nominally. Another successful day of keeping 1.2 million people alive on a planet that actively tried to kill them. The pod slowed as it approached Central Station, and Amara gathered her things. The station itself was a marvel, a massive cavern carved from bedrock and lined with bioluminescent panels that mimicked Earth's daylight cycle. Right now, it glowed with the warm amber of a September morning, despite the actual sun being a pale disk in a butterscotch sky outside. Thousands of people moved through the concourse. Martian-born teenagers, taller and leaner than their Earth-raised parents, navigated the crowds with an easy grace that came from growing up in low gravity. Street vendors sold coffee grown in the agricultural towers, still bitter and overpriced, but nobody complained. Real coffee on Mars was a luxury their grandparents couldn't have imagined. Amara took the lift up to level 7, where the Meridiani Medical Center occupied an entire city block. The elevator rose through transparent shaft walls, giving her a view of the city's vertical architecture. New Thessalonika wasn't built outward like Earth cities. It grew downward and upward simultaneously. 30 levels below ground, 50 levels of sealed hab towers reaching toward the surface, and the massive climate domes that crowned the whole structure like glass mountains. Dr. Okonkwo, glad you're early. Director Rashid Khalid met her at the entrance, his expression grim. He was second-generation Martian, born in the old Bradbury settlement before the city boom. At 53, he was one of the oldest Mars-born humans alive. The message said urgent. What's wrong? Genetic drift. The numbers are worse than we thought. Amara felt her stomach drop. They'd known this was coming, had seen the early warning signs 5 years ago. Mars-born children were developing differently. Taller, yes. Better adapted to low gravity and higher radiation, certainly. But other changes were appearing in the third generation. Bone density issues, cardiovascular anomalies, and now, apparently, something worse. They walked through corridors lined with smart glass walls that displayed patient data, genetic sequencing, and real-time biometric monitoring. The medical center treated everything from construction injuries to the exotic diseases that emerged when human biology met Martian environmental factors. Rashid led her to a conference room where holographic displays floated above the table, showing complex genetic maps. Dr. James Park was already there, along with Dr. Yuki Tanaka from Genetic Research and 3 others from the Colonial Health Authority. Show her, Rashid said quietly. Yuki manipulated the display, pulling up genetic sequences from the latest batch of newborns. Third-generation Martians are developing faster than Earth-normal children. Much faster. We're seeing puberty onset at 7 years old. Skeletal maturity by 12. And their telomeres, she highlighted a section of code. They're shortening at an accelerated rate. They're aging faster, Amara said, her voice hollow. We don't know that for certain yet, James interjected. But the cellular markers suggest, yes, potentially. The room fell silent except for the soft hum of the building's life support systems, the constant white noise that every Martian learned to filter out. How fast? Amara asked. Current projections suggest a 70-year lifespan for third-gen Martians versus the 110 Earth standard, Yuki said. But that's assuming linear progression. It could stabilize. Or accelerate. Does the governor know? She's calling a press conference this afternoon, Rashid said. We need recommendations ready. The city council wants options. Amara pulled up her own research files. Years of data on Martian physiological adaptation. We knew speciation was a possibility. The ethical committees warned about this in the 2060s. Warning about it and dealing with it are different things, Rashid said. We have 40,000 third-generation children in this city alone. Another 100,000 across all Mars settlements. Their parents are demanding answers. Through the conference room windows, Amara could see the city spreading below them. The transit tubes crisscrossing like glowing veins. The agricultural towers with their vertical farms feeding the population. The manufacturing districts where Martian-made goods were now exported back to Earth. The university district where Mars-born scientists were pushing the boundaries of technology that Earth researchers couldn't even conceptualize. New Thessalonika wasn't a colony anymore. It was a city, a civilization. And that civilization's children were evolutionary diverging from baseline humanity at an unprecedented rate. There's something else, Yuki said, pulling up another dataset. The accelerated development isn't just physical. Cognitive testing shows third-gen children processing information 30% faster than Earth normal. Pattern recognition is off the charts. We think the higher radiation exposure is triggering enhanced neural pathway development. They're smarter? James asked. In some ways, yes. In other ways, Yuki manipulated the display again. Emotional regulation is impaired. Impulse control develops later despite physical maturity. We're essentially looking at 14-year-olds with adult bodies and the emotional capacity of children. That's a disaster. Waiting to happen? Amara muttered. A soft chime interrupted them, the citywide alert system. Everyone's wrist displays lit up simultaneously with the same message. Emergency council session, all department heads report to City Hall, 1,400 hours. Guess the governor isn't waiting for recommendations, Rashid said. City Hall occupied the top 5 levels of the central administrative tower, crowned by an observation dome that offered a 360-degree view of New Thessalonika and the rusty plains beyond. Amara had only been here twice before, once for her citizenship ceremony when she arrived from Earth, and once for a commendation after she developed a treatment for Martian dust lung. The main council chamber could hold 500 people, but today it was packed with nearly 800. Department heads, district representatives, medical personnel, educators, industrial leaders, and citizen advocates. The balconies were filled with press drones, their cameras capturing everything for the colony-wide broadcast. Governor Elena Volkov stood at the central podium, her silver hair pulled back in the practical style favored by career Martians. She'd governed New Thessalonika for 12 years, navigating everything from the water crisis of '84 to the dome breach in '87 that killed 43 people. If anyone could handle this, it was her. Thank you for coming on short notice, Volkov began, her voice amplified through the chamber. I won't waste time with pleasantries. You've all seen the genetic reports. You know what we're facing. The holographic display behind her lit up with the same data Amara had reviewed an hour ago. The accelerated aging, the cognitive changes, the physiological divergence. Our children are becoming something different, Volkov continued. Not better or worse, different. Mars is shaping them in ways we didn't anticipate and can't stop. The question before this council is simple. What do we do about it? A hand shot up from the education section. Director Patricia Molina, head of the primary school system. Can we reverse it? Gene therapy? Hormone treatments? Yuki stood to respond. We're exploring options, but the changes are systemic. We'd essentially be fighting against natural selection. Mars is a different environment, lower gravity, higher radiation, different atmospheric pressure even inside our habitats. Life adapts. The real question is whether we want to prevent that adaptation. Of course, we want to prevent it. Someone shouted from the back. We're talking about our children having shorter lifespans. Potentially shorter, Yuki corrected. We don't have longitudinal data yet. The oldest third-gen Martians are only 15. Marcus Chun, the chief engineer, stood up. Amara recognized him from infrastructure meetings. I hate to be the one to say this, but maybe this is just evolution. Our ancestors left Africa, and their bodies changed. They moved to high altitudes and developed larger lung capacity. We moved to Mars. Maybe this is just what happens. Evolution takes thousands of generations, someone countered. On Earth, Marcus shot back. Mars is a forcing ground. Extreme environment, small population, limited genetic diversity. Everything that takes millennia on Earth happens in decades here. Governor Volkov raised her hand for silence. The Genetic Committee has prepared 3 proposals for the Council's consideration. The display shifted to show 3 distinct pathways. Option 1, intervention mandatory genetic therapy for all third-generation children. Hormone regulators to slow development. Potential return to Earth for childbearing to reset genetic baseline. Option 2, monitoring. Continue research and observation. Provide support services for accelerated development. Adapt education and social systems to accommodate rapid maturation. No genetic intervention unless medically necessary. Option 3, acceptance. Recognize Martian-born humans as a distinct population. Redesign all societal systems around their different developmental timeline. Establish Mars as legally independent human subspecies. The chamber erupted. You're talking about creating a new species. We're already a new species. Look at us. This is exactly what the Earth purists warned about. The Earth purists can go to hell. They're not the ones living here. Amara watched the chaos unfold, her mind racing through the implications. Option 1 meant fighting against Mars itself, trying to keep humans Earth normal in an environment that demanded change. Option 2 was a middle path, but felt like delaying the inevitable decision. Option 3 meant accepting that humanity had split, that there were now Earth humans and Mars humans, and they were diverging further with each generation. A young voice cut through the noise, amplified from the public comment section. Why isn't anyone asking us? The chamber fell silent. A girl stood in the citizens' gallery, maybe 14, maybe younger. It was hard to tell with third-gen development. She was tall, nearly 2 meters, with the lean build and enhanced bone structure of someone born and raised in Martian gravity. I'm Zara Okafor, she said, her voice steady despite hundreds of eyes on her. Third-generation Martian. Born in New Thessalonika General. I've never been to Earth, never breathed unfiltered air, never felt full gravity. Mars is the only home I've ever known or ever will know. She stepped forward to the railing. You're all talking about fixing us, about gene therapy and hormone treatments and whether we're still human enough. But none of you are asking what we want. Governor Volkov gestured for her to continue. I read faster than my Earthborn teachers, Zara said. I process data faster. I can hold my breath for 6 minutes because my lungs developed in thin air. I can work in 38% gravity for hours without getting tired. I'm adapted to Mars. She paused. Why would I want to be fixed to be worse at living here? Because you might only live to 70, someone called out. Zara's laugh was sharp. Might, maybe. Nobody knows for sure. And even if it's true, so what? My great-grandmother lived to 60 on Earth before cancer got her. My grandfather died at 55 in an industrial accident in the belt. My mother is 42 and healthy. None of us are promised a long life on any planet. She looked around the chamber. Mars isn't trying to kill us. It's shaping us, making us better at surviving here. And everyone in this room is terrified because it means admitting Earth isn't home anymore. That we're not temporary visitors. or permanent residence. This is human evolution happening in real time, and you're trying to stop it because it's scary. The silence that followed was profound. Finally, an older man stood, Dr. Heinrich Müller, one of the original colony founders, now in his 70s. "The girl makes a valid point," he said, his voice gravelly. "I came to Mars in 2051. Watched this city grow from a cluster of hab modules to a metropolis. Watched children born here become parents, then grandparents. Every generation more adapted, more Martian." He looked at Zara. "I'll die soon. Earthborn, earthbound biology even after 40 years here. But she thrive. Her children will thrive. Maybe that's not a problem to solve. Maybe that's the whole point of coming here." Governor Volkov let the words hang in the air before speaking. "This council will not vote on the proposals today. We'll take 1 month for public comment, for additional research, for citywide discussion. But I want everyone to consider something. We didn't come to Mars to stay the same. We came to grow, to adapt, to become something new." She looked directly at Zara. "Maybe it's time we trusted Mars to know what it's doing." 3 weeks later, Amara stood in the observation dome at midnight, looking out over the sleeping city. Below, 1,000,000 points of light marked the hab blocks, the vertical farms, the industrial centers. The transit tubes glowed like luminous veins, carrying night shift workers to their posts. In the distance, she could see the massive solar arrays that supplemented the fusion reactor, and beyond that, the dark expanse of the Martian plains. Her wrist display showed the preliminary voting results from the citywide referendum. Option 2 had one monitoring and adaptation, but no forced genetic intervention. Option 3 had come in second, which said something about how Mars-born residents saw themselves. Option 1, the attempt to keep Martians Earth normal, had received less than 12% support. The door hissed open behind her. Rashid joined her at the window, 2 cups of terrible Martian coffee in his hands. He offered her one. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. "Thinking about the implications," she said. "If third-gen Martians keep developing faster, we'll need to redesign the entire education system. Medical protocols, legal definitions of adulthood, everything. We've been redesigning everything since the first hab went up," Rashid pointed out. "That's what we do here. Adapt. It's one thing to adapt technology. It's another to adapt humanity itself." Rashid sipped his coffee, staring out at the city. "My grandmother used to tell me about when she first arrived from Earth. Said the hardest part wasn't the gravity, or the air, or the food. It was accepting that her grandchildren, me, specifically, would be something she wasn't. That I'd be Martian in ways she could never be." Was she right? "Absolutely," he smiled. "I've been to Earth twice. Hated it both times. The gravity crushed me. The air felt like drowning. The sky was too blue, too bright. Earth isn't home for me, it's a museum. And for Zara's generation, Earth isn't even a museum. It's mythology. A story about where humans came from, but not where they're going." They stood in silence, watching the city breathe and pulse with life. Somewhere down there, third-generation children were sleeping, growing, adapting, becoming something their ancestors couldn't have imagined. In the hospitals, researchers were mapping their genomes, documenting each change, trying to predict what came next. "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" Amara asked quietly. "Letting them change?" "I think we're doing the only thing," Rashid said. "You can't stop evolution. You can only choose whether to flow with it or drown fighting against it." A transport ship launched from the spaceport on the city's edge, its ion drives leaving a blue trail across the dark sky as it climbed toward orbit. Probably heading to the belt, or maybe back to Earth. The eternal flow of commerce and people that kept Mars connected to the rest of human civilization. But that civilization was fracturing, Amara realized. Not into conflict or war, but into different branches of the same tree. Earth humans, Mars humans, belt humans, the moon colonies, the generation ships heading to other stars. each environment shaping the humans within it, creating new variations on an ancient theme. My great-grandmother left Nigeria for America, Amara said. Thought she was going to a better life, but staying human. Didn't realize her grandchildren would grow up thinking and speaking and moving through the world in ways she couldn't fully understand. Different culture, different language, different assumptions about what normal meant. And now you're here, Rashid said. And now I'm here, she agreed. Watching the same thing happen on a biological level instead of a cultural one. Her wrist display chimed a message from Yuki. More genetic data from the latest round of testing. Amara skimmed through the summary. Third-gen Martians showing enhanced resistance to radiation damage. Improved calcium retention despite low gravity. Faster wound healing. The adaptations continued. At the bottom of the report, Yuki had added a personal note. We're not watching humans adapt to Mars. We're watching Mars create Martians. There's a difference. Amara looked out at the city again, at the million people living and working and dreaming under the ruddy sky. First-generation immigrants from Earth. Second-generation bridge people caught between worlds. Third-generation natives who'd never known anything but Mars. And beyond them, the generations yet unborn who would be even more adapted, even more Martian, even more different from the humans who'd built the first habitats. Come on, Rashid said, finishing his coffee. Shift starts in 6 hours, and I need at least some sleep. They walked back through the observation dome toward the elevators, leaving the sleeping city below them. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new adaptations, new questions about what it meant to be human on a planet that was actively reshaping humanity. But tonight, New Thessalonika dreamed under alien stars, and its children grew in the rush-red soil of a new world, becoming something their ancestors had never imagined. Martian, human, both, neither. The future, taking shape one generation at a time.